Hey guys, so I've been pretty open on my page about my newfound struggle with depression and anxiety. And before I go into this video, I just want to clarify that if you are using an SSRI or SNRI antidepressant and you have found it to increase the quality of your life, I do not mean to insult, and I certainly am not encouraging you to take this as medical advice. I'm simply stating my own experience. So, here we go. About 5 weeks ago, I started suffering from debilitating panic attacks. I think it had a lot to do with the depression from my grandmother's passing and also the stress of many other things that were going on in my life. I think at some point we have all had some sort of meltdown or have felt a dissatisfaction with the way that the world is. We are wage slaves living to work, eat, shit, consume, sleep, and die. Certainly, this was not the way that our lives were meant to be, and this was not what our world was intended for. So, why is it that way? If you turn on C-SPAN at any time, all you'll hear the politicians repeating is New World Order, New World Order, New World Order. So, what is this New World Order that they are fighting so hard to bring about? One world currency, one world religion, one world government. It's addressed in old Masonic texts. They speak of this New World Order and how many things must occur before it can be implemented. One being the destruction of the family unit, another being the indoctrination of things that would normally be seen as degrading as perfectly normal occurrences. And they've also been dumbing people down through chemicals that they've introduced in the air, food, and water. Television programming. It is programming your mind, and pharmaceuticals. For a second, I'd like to touch on the water. Everyone knows that fluoride is in our water. In the middle of the brain is a small pine cone shaped gland called the pineal gland, also referred to as the third eye. If you research, you'll find statues of pine cones throughout history at all places from ancient Egypt to the Vatican. Mystical and esoteric schools have long known this area to be the connecting link between the physical and the spiritual worlds, increasing imagination and creativity. We are at a loss since the fluoride in our drinking water has completely calcified the pineal gland by the age of 6. But why would they want to do that? A lot of people think that the government is generally good. And perhaps this would be true, but the government has long been bought out by big bankers. And I guarantee you, Rothschild and Rockefeller sure as hell aren't drinking water with fluoride in it. And so, on to my original topic of SSRIs and SNRIs, I foolishly was looking for quick relief. And so now that I am on my 8th day of ingesting this poison, and I've been reading all the while, first, I'd like you to keep in mind that although we are taught to think that doctors are there to help us, and some are, most of them are actually very unaware of the effects that these drugs can have on our brains and bodies. And keep in mind, they're making a paycheck. And keep in mind, these paychecks come from big pharmaceutical companies, like Pfizer, the one that makes my miracle drug, Zoloft. What initially sparked my curiosity is that the doctors had started me on a pretty mild dosage of Zoloft at 25 milligrams per day. I was responding fairly well as I had a nice surge of serotonin in the morning, and I was able to somewhat function. This necessarily was not due to the fact that I wasn't depressed, but more so to the fact that I was mostly numb. in these past 8 days, and I know many will say 8 days is not enough, you must stay on longer to see the positive effects, I have become a shell of my former self. All that I feel is intense rage. I do not want to be loved or touched or spoken to. The doctor's answer to this was, we need to get you up to 200 milligrams per day as quickly as possible. Now, keep in mind, I've never been diagnosed with depression. If I'm responding well at the lower dosage, then why do we need to increase it so quickly? So I began reading more. It turns out that these pharmaceutical companies are just as crooked as you would assume, showing better test results with placebos than their drugs, yet prescribing their drugs at astronomical rates, not caring about the havoc that they are wreaking on these poor, beautiful human beings that are only depressed because they live in a very wicked world and feel that they do not belong, often due to these medications harming themselves or others. Just to touch on the issue of gun control, is it truly the guns or is it the overly medicated shooters? Just check the stats. Anyhow, it has been proven that at 8 weeks, the calcification of the frontal lobes begin. The frontal lobe, if you don't know, is basically our soul. It allows us to problem solve, express emotions, it guides our judgment and behavior. Studies have shown that users on antidepressants for extended periods of time have completely calcified frontal lobes. Their brains perform as though they have had a frontal lobotomy performed. They feel nothing. I've always prided myself, sometimes thinking it to be a curse, on being a particularly empathetic and loving human being. And although the world is evil, I still think that good exists. Perhaps I'm just naive. But regardless, I do not want to lose this part of my being. The being that my God molded me to be. I am this way for a reason. I don't know why I feel so passionately, but I do. And one day I'll learn why. And until then, I will be in pain, but I would rather feel pain than feel nothing at all. So I've decided that I won't be taking the Zoloft or any other antidepressants anymore. And on that note, I would just like to say two things. One, if you are curious about any of the topics that I've covered in this video or would like links to any of my research, please contact me further. And secondly, fuck you, Pfizer. You don't make billions of dollars off of healthy people. You make billions of dollars in blood money off of stacking up the dead bodies. And I refuse to be another statistic.